Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. And today's video is going to be a little different because I've been seeing a lot of people keep using this device on their cars. And I'm going to explain to you why you should never follow these type of people and why you shouldn't ever use this on your car.
But said times in his rhymes cause his memories. We running through New York so you never leave. Strap my lungs then we puffin' through with that right. We're giving them some stories, they come back like manic this, manic that, why you crawling to me? The hell we gonna...
Okay, so as many of you know, this is what they class as an impact driver, impact gun, whatever many of you want to call it. Now, a lot of people are under the impression that they should be using this to remove bolts on their car. Now, I am completely against this, and I'm going to explain to you in all the reasons why you shouldn't actually use this on your car. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So right here, as you have it, this is an impact gun. And this is what a lot of people you'll see on a lot of videos across YouTube using this to remove parts from their car. Now, I'm not saying every YouTuber does that, but the majority of them will use this. And then what they'll tell you is they'll cut the video to then tell you they actually took the bolts up by hand, which is all a lie. They did not do that. And they are using this to tighten the bolts up. A lot of them will say they've talked them up by hand just so they don't get any bad comments by people saying, or any experts saying they shouldn't have used this and they should have took the bolts up by hand. So I'm going to explain to you why you shouldn't use these. So the first reason why you shouldn't use these is these are a bad habit for anyone looking to become a mechanic or is completely passionate about becoming a mechanic and wanting to work in a garage. Now in the UK, this is a complete no-no. If you ever got caught using one of these to release all the bolts on the engine bay, they will throw this at your head and probably tell you to get the fuck out their shop. This is a common thing here, and I can tell you now, after working in 6 garages all my life, which I've said to many of you guys many times, I'm probably the only YouTuber that actually has experience of working in a garage, me and probably another 2 others on YouTube. The majority of people on YouTube follow what they read on forums. A lot of them will also follow what they see other YouTubers do, and that is a bad influence because they will never go nowhere with that. Once you get used to using one of these, you never want to do manual labor, which is with a ratchet. Now in garages, they're not going to let you use an impact gun to release all the bolts on the car. Therefore, this is not a good thing to actually get into and start using to release all the bolts on the car, because when you go to a garage, they will tell you this is a complete no-no and you won't want to stay there because it's going to be hard work. Mechanics is designed to be hard work. It's not designed to be easy. Anyone making it look easy with this by removing all the bolts is very foolish, because that's not the way it's meant to be done. And secondly, if you was a civil engineer, you've ever worked in the Navy, you've ever worked in the Army, when you tighten the bolts there, they have to be marked to make sure they don't move after they've been torqued. If they found that you went and done all the bolts up with an impact gun, they would never even let that aircraft go up in the air. They will not use this to tighten bolts on any kind of aircrafts, any kind of military vehicles like that. Therefore, this is not a good habit to get into. And therefore, if you are wanting to become a mechanic, do not follow other YouTubers who tell you to use this device. The next one I'm going to explain to you why you shouldn't use one of these is purely because these, a lot of them don't come with adjustable speed. They're very, very powerful. They're built for impact drivers to drive screws into wood, you know, 2x4, 4x4, 6x4. Therefore, they're extremely powerful. They did make adapters to be able to put sockets on, but I do not recommend anyone ever do that. And that's purely because these can actually strip the bolts and rip out the bolts too fast. And especially when you're doing them up, you can easily cross thread the bolts. You know, I've seen people actually do up glow plugs with these. I've seen them remove glow plugs with these. I've seen them actually take spark plugs out of these. It's something I don't agree with. As I said, anyone you actually see using this on YouTube is because they're not professional, because any garage, be it UK and USA, and I hope you guys actually back me up here and you'll see what I'm saying, will never allow you to use this in a garage, never. So now a lot of you are asking me, what can you use to release the bolts on the engine bay to obviously speed up the time? Well, the simple answer for that, and you probably would have seen a few YouTubers, probably 2, actually using this tool, is a simple device like this, which is called an actual impact wrench. These are cordless wrenches, and these do not strip the bolts or break the bolts loose. What these do, you use them, you crack the bolt loose and then spin them off with the actual driver itself. But that's why it helps you speed it up. With an impact driver, what that does, is if they're torqued up, it will just spin them straight off. Now, a lot of you are going to say to me what the difference is. Well, there's a lot of difference. Impact drivers, where they spin so fast and so powerful, you have no control. Bearing in mind you have no control, what that can end up doing is actually breaking the bolt, especially on aluminium bolts on the engine bay, especially on the valve cover on the M52, break them inside. Therefore, you won't be able to get them out if they break in there, and you'll be another nightmare just to get them bolts out of the head itself. This is the best tool to actually use if you want to get into the trade and be able to loosen bolts. This, as I said, is an impact wrench, and these are cordless. These are not powerful. Like I said, they will not unloosen the bolts. You've got to crack them loose yourself and then press the trigger and it will release the bolt the same way an impact gun will, but it's safer. This is what I tend to use a lot when I'm releasing bolts. A lot of the time you guys see me, I've done it from day one. I use a little, my 1/4 inch ratchet. I've got a thing for that. Most of the bolts on the M52 end up using that. They're 8mm, 10mm. Therefore, I've got a habit for my 1/4 inch ratchet, and I've always used that. Another thing with an impact gun is a lot of people don't understand is if you've got Allen key bolts on a car, you've got the H7, H6, H4, or you've got Torx 30, Torx 20, and they are stuck or seized. When you go to press the impact gun, the trigger, it will strip the bolt because of the fact, it spins too fast and it ends up stripping out the bolt. It's just the way it happens. Therefore, that's why garages do not allow you to use them. Now, another one that a lot of you probably see a lot of YouTubers using is this done right here, which is the Big Daddy. This one actually will release wheel nuts, subframe bolts, and so on and so on. Now, this should never be used to tighten up wheels. You're meant to torque the wheel bolts, wheel lugs down. Do not ever use an impact gun to tighten them, purely because of the fact these can actually strip the wheel lugs. A lot of garages will use an air compressor gun to tighten up the wheel bolts, and then you'll go to another garage when you want to take your wheel off and you can't get the wheel lug nut off, it will be stuck. The impact gun won't even get it off, a breaker bar, and therefore you'll need it cut off to be able to get it out. And that's a lot of the time, which is a lot of the problem, especially here. This is why they tell you do not use an impact gun for the wheels. And this isn't just my personal opinion on this. This isn't just my personal experience. Like I said, I've worked in 6 garages. I can get a load of good friends of mine who do actually still own garages who will confirm this for you, that if they saw any of their workers with an impact gun, and these are not old timers, a lot of my friends that actually own garages are in their 30s, in their, just turning 40. So they are still young, they're still my age, and we've grew up with the fact that mechanics is manual labor. You get people like Nathan who tell me, oh, if you had to sit and do mechanics with a normal ratchet, you'd get sick of it, and this is why mechanics retire by the age of 50. Well, yes, mechanics was never designed to be easy. Everyone knows that. If it's not a trade for you, then don't go into that trade. But you're never gonna go into a garage and they're gonna let you use an impact gun. It's just not the way. And I can tell you that right now, after working in 6 garages all my life, after knowing people that own garages. Look, take this for instance, my friend, and look, I go and help my friend out in his garage a lot of the time. He owns a garage, I go there probably every other day and help him. He had a guy there who was using an impact gun constantly. The guy was a newbie. He got a bit trigger happy and was using it for every single bolt on the engine, be it engine mount, subframe bolt. And the guy told him to stop using that impact gun. He warned him 3 times. And look, I told the guy, I said, you can't be having this guy using an impact gun. This is a risk to customers' cars. And then because if the bolts get stuck or he breaks anything, therefore they're gonna have to pay out their pocket. He ended up getting rid of the guy because he kept warning the guy not to use the impact gun. Even when he was doing the wheels up, he'd pull it on number 2, which it was a Milwaukee impact gun, and he would just thread the wheel bolts straight on, and you would hear them spin on, and it felt like they were gonna cross thread. You can't be having them type of people. That's when you know people don't have experience, because of the fact you would not use an impact gun for every single bolt on an engine. There's a lot of people that do lead you that. There's a lot of people that use it, let's just say, on their mechatronics, using an impact gun to release the bolts. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with certain things like that, which ain't gonna be seized, ain't gonna be rusty. They're drowning in oil. The bolts will come out very, very easily, and yet you're using an impact gun to remove them. These people are advising you the wrong way. A lot of people on YouTube have never even gone and done their level 1, 2, and 3 mechanic course. They've never even been a mechanic. Everything they've learned is from each other. They've all followed each other's steps. This is why I'm advising you the correct way. Do not use an impact gun on your car. As I said, it's not a good thing, and it will strip your bolts. And if you are looking at these people thinking, oh, this seems quick, if you're a newbie, do not think of getting an impact gun. And another reason for this is because once you get comfortable with an impact gun, For me, for instance, I can torque up bolts without the need of using a torque wrench, and that's because I know by feel. Once you've used an impact gun, if you ever went to use a normal hand ratchet, you would never know by feel if they're actually torqued up. So you'd always rely on a torque wrench, like the majority of these YouTubers. And that's when you know they don't have no knowledge on cars, is because of what they've read up online. Make sure you use a torque wrench, make sure you use a torque wrench. Majority of people with experience and background in working in cars will know you don't have to use a torque wrench if you can tell by feel. And I've done a video like this before. You guys know I do most of my bolts up by feel, and I've never, ever, ever had an issue. Why is that? Because I'm experienced and I've been doing this for many, many, many years, even before YouTube. I haven't just come to YouTube and following other people. This comes by experience. You can do the bolts up. But a lot of people who are not comfortable with their mechanical skills will use a torque wrench because they think the bolt's gonna come loose or come off. That is the majority of people you will see using a torque wrench, is they're not comfortable with their self doing mechanics, and that's the reason why they do that. Now, I do believe, as I said many times, to use a torque wrench on engine components, be it head bolts, you know, be it cam chain, tensioners, things like that, correct. But when you're doing valve cover bolts, you know, oil filter housing bolts or manifold bolts, you don't need to use a torque wrench at all. They are, you know, you can tell when they're tight and snug down. They don't need to be super tight and they don't need to be torqued down. But a lot of people still insist on using a torque wrench because they're just not comfortable. And you guys know who I'm on about. There's a lot of YouTubers out there that do this, and there's a lot of YouTubers that still use an impact gun believing that's the right way. But as I said, they're influencing you the wrong way. This is why some YouTubers you'll see of the impact wrench that I've got, and other of them you'll see of an impact driver. Impact wrench is the best way to go. As I said, doesn't round off bolts. You can turn them on and then torque them up. The impact wrench as well, when it turns the bolts and pushes it, puts them down for you and actually screws them down, it won't tighten them down. It will let you tighten them down by hand with the impact wrench as well. Therefore, meaning you'll get a feel for the bolts. An impact gun will just keep turning them and turning them and turning them until you stop the trigger. So it doesn't matter if they even break off, it will just keep turning them because they're over powerful. So I hope this clears up a lot of the issues that I've been seeing with people using impact guns on their cars. And I hope now you actually get an understanding of the people that are actually using these actual tools to actually work on their car. A lot of them, as I said, are not professionals. They just follow what they see. So it's like monkey see, monkey do. That is what majority of people do on YouTube. There is a lot of YouTubers though that don't use that, and obviously I'm not going to go into names, but a lot of you guys know what I'm on about, and a lot of them you will never see even pick up an impact driver or an impact gun. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm all honest and I've never used it. There's certain bolts I will use that for and certain bolts I won't. And if you watch my videos, you will see a lot of the time I have a fully adjustable impact driver, which I can turn it down, but the majority of people don't. They have one which you cannot adjust and it will just spin the bolt off. I have an adjustable one. I have my cordless impact wrench as well, which a lot of the time you'll see me use as well. Now, there's certain bolts I will use the impact driver on, certain bolts I will not, and you'll see me with my little ratchet always using it. You know, it comes by experience what bolts you can use it on, what bolts you can't. But for a newbie, I do advise, if you want to get into mechanic trade, do not get comfortable with an impact gun, because when you go to work in a shop, or if you're doing your degrees in college to become a mechanic, they're going to tell you that is a complete no-no on the cars, and any college will tell you that, and any shop will tell you that. Shops will not use an impact gun to release all the bolts, and anyone who tells you they do is talking out their ass. So thank you very much for watching this. BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.